brilliant week-long morning dance of the planets and our moon, paired with warmer nights and a challenging evening conjunction and a close encounter at the end of the month, make May a wonderful month to get out under the stars. Welcome to Observing with Webb for May of 2020, where a high school astronomy teacher tells you what you're looking at, why it's so cool, and what you should check out later this month at night. So basically, May is not usually a very eventful month. However, we've got 3 planets in the mornings, with the moon coming in for a whole week. And later in the month, we have Venus, Moon, and Mercury doing their thing. So I think, why don't we get started here by talking about the planets in general.
And a bunch of other stuff.
All right, so the very first one we should really take a look at is the one you've probably been paying attention to already, which is Venus. So all we got to do is look toward the west and set this up for sunset, because it is a sunset planet, at least for the rest of this month. So there it is up there. It starts out about 35 degrees above the horizon. And what we'll see throughout the month is it is going to dip lower. In fact, let me get to about a little bit after 8, so it's a little bit darker. And let's see what happens throughout the month. You see Venus gets lower and lower in the sky. And there comes Mercury toward the last week. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but you want to focus on Venus. It is, about this point, it's probably too hard to see because it's so close to the sun. However, what happens here from here on out is it's going to become a morning star. So it's actually passing between us and the sun in its orbit. Remember, Venus's orbit is, let's say it's here. Earth's orbit is out here. So this is Venus's. So it's going around. It's going in between the Earth and the sun, what we call inferior conjunction. So if you miss it right now, you will be able to see it in the mornings. Okay, in fact, you'll be able to see it in the morning until December. So for the rest of the year, Venus will be up in the morning. The other thing that you want to do here, when you're looking at Venus, if you have binoculars or a telescope, you want to zoom right in and see what happens to Venus as the month goes by. Already on the first, you see it's a beautiful crescent, but then what happens is, because it's getting closer to us in its orbit, it's going to get bigger, and it's going to get thinner as a crescent. Let me darken that a little bit. And by the end of the month, it is essentially just a sliver. So there you go. There's Venus in the evening. Make sure that you check it out at any evening for now, and take out those binoculars to see that crescent. All right, the other planets that we have going on in May are Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, but you have to get out in the morning. And so you see that I have it up here at 5:17. You really want to get out well before sunrise. Now, sunrise is between 6 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. And basically, you start by finding the brightest spot out there. And the brightest spot is going to be Jupiter. Now, from Jupiter, you can find Saturn and Mars. So Saturn is going to be right over here the entire month, and it's only about a fist width, less than a fist width to the left of Jupiter the entire month. And Mars is about 20 fist widths away from, 20 degrees or 2 fist widths from Saturn, at least at the beginning of the month. Watch what happens as the month goes by. Okay, Saturn and Jupiter kind of move together more toward the south, and Mars moves away. And move this a little bit. Mars is about 40 degrees away from them by the morning of the week of May 31st. So that's what you got going on there. Beautiful. They're going to actually start becoming evening planets pretty soon, probably in the next month or two. But for now, get up in the morning, get out there. I know it's tough to get out when it's really dark, like at 4:30, but it's definitely worth it to get out there. Just dress very warm. All right, so with the planets taken care of, let's talk about the events that are going on with those planets.
And a bunch of other stuff.
All right, let's talk about the moon first. We've got a full moon on the 7th. That means it is visible the entire night. Hard to see some stars that night. We have a last quarter moon on the 14th. That means that you can see it. You have until midnight with dark skies. Then you can see that rising in the east. Only half of it is lit up. And then the new moon is on the 22nd. That's the darkest skies. And for the last week, you'll see some crescent moons. And the first quarter moon is on the 29th, which is when the right half is lit up. And you can see it up until about midnight. All right, so 3 events. Let's talk about the first one, which is a week long. So we got to go to May 11th, and we got to get up in the morning. So here's what we do. If we get up on May 11th in the morning, we got 4 things going on there. We've got the moon, a nice waxing gibbous right there. We've got Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars all lined up. Beautiful little situation we got there. So you want to get out after 4 a.m., but before 5:30 a.m. On any of these mornings. And what you want to see, what you will see, is that waning gibbous moon on the 11th. And then what happens is the next day, the moon is right below Jupiter by only 3 degrees. That's it. Pretty good idea to take your binoculars out for that, because you can see the craters on the moon and you can see the moons of Jupiter. So 5 moons in one direction. Then on the 13th, the moon is in between Saturn and Mars, but a little bit closer to Saturn. The 14th, as I said, is the last quarter moon, and you'll see that's what it is, but it's a little bit closer to Mars. On the morning of the 15th, it's below Mars, a little bit down and to the left by about 4 degrees, okay, or a little less than 3 finger widths. And lastly, on the 16th and the 17th, the moon just sort of moves out of the way, but it's still a beautiful lineup of morning objects. So don't forget, May 11th to the 17th, try to get out there in the morning. Go to bed early the night before, wake up, and see what you can do. Okay. Now, the next event is on the 21st. And we're going to have to change our time. We're going to have to go to sunset, and we're going to have to look toward the west. Okay? And over here in the west, you will see Mercury and Venus in conjunction. Okay? Now, the days leading up to it, Mercury was down below. So the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, that's when they're going to get the closest. They'll be less than a pinky width away from each other. Okay. That's it. Hopefully you can see it. Your goal here, or your strategy here, is to look for Venus, because that's going to be super bright. Okay. In fact, negative 4.2 is a brightness, and then Mercury is actually pretty bright for Mercury, 0.6, negative 0.6. And just look for Venus, and then a little bit down and to the left will be Mercury. Okay. Now, where did the moon go? That's the next idea here. See, on May 23rd, Mercury is now a little bit higher and Venus is a little bit lower, but the moon is right down here. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be real impressed if you can actually see that. The moon is very, very thin crescent. It's less than a day old. It's going to be tough. But if you can find Venus, just look down and to the left about, I think it's 5 degrees below Venus. Okay, 5 degrees is about that. Okay, at arm's length. And Mercury is about 3 degrees above and to the left of Venus. So go ahead and see if you can find that. Now, if you don't have good luck on the 23rd, the 24th should be just as good. The moon is a little bit higher and it's a little bit thicker, so it will be easier to find. Now, Venus is going to be real easy to find. Well, I don't know if I want to say real easy, but it'll be the brightest thing down there. And Mercury will be right in between them. Okay? So that's on the 23rd and the 24th. You've got the moon, Mercury, and Venus.
Are there patterns in our skies? Are patterns only in our eyes?
All right, so where do you look to see some constellations? Well, a lot of people just look straight up. I don't necessarily like to do that, but if I'm just out for a minute or two, that's what I'll do. And if you're looking straight up, let's say it's after dinner, before bed, you're looking at Leo the lion. Okay. You're also looking at the Big Dipper up here. So actually, let's start with Leo, right? So Leo's going to be high in the south. It's going to be almost straight up above you. It's going to have this backward question mark with the right triangle to the left of that question mark. And so what you do then is actually turn around, but keep looking just about as high, and you should see the Big Dipper up above there, which is 7 stars, 7 very bright stars. And now that it's higher in the sky, you can actually see the legs, the body of the big bear. It actually looks like a bear. I'll give it to him, aside from the long tail. It looks like a bear. But what you can do from there is sort of turn to the right a little bit and follow the arc of this handle. Follow that arc to Arcturus, which is the brightest star in Bootes, the shepherd. I don't know how that looks like a shepherd, but use your imagination. And if you do the same thing, you can follow the arc to Arcturus, the brightest star in Bootes, and then speed on to Spica, which is the brightest star in Virgo. Okay? Yeah, there you go. That's basically before bed. That's what I would look at. Now, if you're getting up before work, though, let's say it's like, 4 a.m., and you're looking straight up, now you are starting to see some really good ones for the summer. So if you look pretty much straight above you, you'll find the brightest star in the summer sky, which is Vega. And that is also the brightest star in Lyra, the harp. Now, you see that, you can find it by looking for the parallelogram that's right next to that really bright star. Okay. Now, next to that is a keystone-shaped constellation, or asterism, called Hercules. And, on the right side is a little small cluster of stars known as the Hercules cluster, which you might be able to see with your naked eye. There it is, right about there. And, with your naked eye, you might just be able to catch it. With binoculars, you definitely will. But it can be kind of tough to see sometimes. So, go ahead, give that a look. Don't forget that I put this out as an email on MailChimp and also at the Pequot Valley Planetarium. I put all this information out as a podcast on mrwebb.podbean.com. It's also on Stitcher and iTunes. Just look for Observing with Webb. And also I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. Webb PV, and the planetarium's up there as at PV Planetarium. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So anyway, with that, I hope you get out there to see the moon going through all these planets. And, I hope you just really have a good month of May. It's a beautiful time to get out there and look at the stars. So with that, I wish you very clear, dark skies for the month of May.